Folks, welcome back to another episode of Big Boy Pants Golf. I've got my co-host Jake Span Golf in the house,
What's up, folks? How we doing today?
and we've got a troubling episode for you this time on Big Boy Pants Golf. We've got another episode of Rick Shiels' Break 75 to discuss, and spoiler alert, the dude shoots an 86 on a par 71. Jake Span Golf, what is your initial reaction to this?
My initial reaction is, hey, man, we can all have a bad day, but the issue with this is that it's Rick Shiels, and we know what he's going to do immediately after he does this, right? This is not like a Zach Radford or a Luke Peavy who has a stick, and they have really good personality about it, and they are only playing golf. This is Rick Shiels, who's going to go about and cause more harm in the golf world by trying to explain dominance when he doesn't have dominance.
At some point during the round, there's some music that comes on his 17th hole where he's just butchering the hole, and it's the lyrics are something like, you know, you got to give it all you got. You're hard. It's like this rap going on as he's on his way to not even breaking 85. I don't know who's editing these videos. I don't know what's going on, but at some point, does he go to break 80, break 82? Should he change that number?
Obviously, you want whatever you're doing to be challenging, right? If break 75 is legitimately a 50% or 35%, let's say, success rate, I'm okay with it being break 75 because you want whatever you're doing to be a challenge, but still be attainable. You have to. That's the thing with goals. You have to have something that you can actually attain. I can't go out to the course and say, we're going to break 60 today. That's not going to happen. I'm going to end up being dejected and pissed off and probably shoot way worse because I'm trying to do something that I can't actually do, right? And maybe that's where break 75 is becoming for him. If he's legitimately struggling, when was the last time he actually succeeded in a break 75?
I mean, it depends on the course he's playing. Sometimes he played with the one lady golfer, and then you look at the course. She's shooting 6 or 7 under, and then he shoots 1 or 2 under. But yeah, the course is like 6,300 yards. I'm always curious as to the course. If you put Rick Shiels on a hard course, for the most part, except for the time he played with Ricky Fowler, where he did not embarrass himself because it was a super tricky course. Okay. If you put him on a hard course, he doesn't break 80, 82.
Hey, that can happen. I mean, let's be real. If you're a scratch golfer, there are a lot of courses that you can go play at certain times of the year that are just not going to work out for you. I mean, you have to accept that there are going to be 8 rounds in the 80s. We see it with pro golfers all the time, where we see guys who are Ryder Cup people that can shoot 80, and it happens. I'm not saying it's not possible to do that, but if your success rate in your series is so low that we can't even really remember your opportunities, maybe we need to do either one of two things: change the locations or change the expectations. Because he's out there with his buddy Guy Charnock, who's beating him, I think, in a couple of these events. And he's supposed to be the even amateur of the amateurs.
Well, I think Guy is maybe a 4 handicap, something like that.
Okay.
And he goes out and in this last episode, handily beats Rick. It looks like he's more in control of his emotions in his game. He's actually doing Rick's job better than Rick in terms of discussing his shot, working through the process. And I'm almost feeling like it's starting to become more of his kind of show. Rick is there. He's the overall host. But then now I feel like there's much more focus on Guy, when initially he was just sprinkled in there a little bit here and there. Oh, look at my manager. He's in it. Now it's a 50-50 show at least. It should be the Rick Shiels and Guy Charnock show, unfortunately, because as we all know, Guy Charnock broke up the most beautiful golf YouTube relationship there was, Rick Shiels and Peter Finch. He moved in on there. He broke up that bromance. He made Rick Shiels throw Peter Finch's favorite golf hoodie out on the front lawn and told him to get to stepping.
My big problem with that is Peter Finch would and does, in his competitions. I mean, he handily beats the crap out of Rick Shiels right now, and so maybe that's part of why the relationship broke up. They don't talk about it, but I mean, if you're doing a series with somebody and you're supposed to be the bigger name, but you can't beat them or can't even compete with them, it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It can't be sustainable, right? If Rick Shiels' brand is being a golf instructor, golf enthusiast, golf guru, and the biggest one on the YouTube playing sphere, you can't really continue that brand if you got Peter Finch next to you who's similar in what he does, but is dominating you by 8 shots every single round. And that's kind of what it is right now.
I don't, on a fundamental human basic comprehension level, understand how Rick Shiels is the one who took off and Peter Finch is his, he has half or less than half of the subscribers. Rick's at 2.6 million. I don't know if Finch is at 600,000 maybe. But he's got the modern golf swing.
Yeah.
He has a great golf swing. That's the swing I would want. Rick Shiels has this flippy Magoo thing going on, weak grip, slapping out of his hands. His body's all over the place. But, of course, they have the soundtrack going all the time, so it makes him look like he has some kind of triumphant, majestic golf swing. It's horrible. Peter Finch, great golf swing. How are we developing as a human species where Peter Finch is relegated to second or third place? He has to be the one asking Rick Shiels with his, again, flippity-flip swing to get on his show.
I don't understand how this works. I really don't, because you're right. There are situations where people that have real talent don't actually shine as hard as somebody else, and it's all about however their game goes. Think about this, for instance. Luke Kwan, Ben Haddon both had their own golf channels, their own golf YouTube channels, starting up about the same time that the Good experience started happening. And let's be real. Now, Good when it started up, they had Micah, they had Grant, had Garrett. Their games weren't pro level at that point, but they were developing and they were still solid, right? They were still scratch relevant players, but they weren't beyond scratch, right? They weren't pro scratch. There's scratch and then there's pro scratch. They were all scratch when they first started, whereas when Kwan and Haddon started their channels, they were obviously pro scratch. Very different game. Now, Micah and Grant have developed and they went on their own journey because they're now pro scratch players. Garrett, because he still does the good stuff, is not developing his game any further because he's spending too much time doing wheel of not ideal to actually get better at his swing. But we see this where Ben Haddon and Luke Kwan, despite having the infinitely better game, hadn't been able to grow at a similar rate. And we see the same thing with Peter Finch and Rick Shiels, where it's baffling because the guys who are the better players are not having audiences gravitate toward them the same way.
Well, I'll say this, with the whole YouTube thing, you just have to have a certain amount of skills before people want to see you play. And, you have guys like Bob Does Sports where it's not serious at all. Where, I guess it's more comedy based or humor based, or it's, a lot of shtick. You got Luke Kwan. If he had more personality, I feel, a little bit more engaging, maybe he would be bigger that way. So you also have the personality aspect. But my point is, we've got an apples to apples situation here with Peter Finch, Rick Shiels. They've kind of come up together. Sure, Rick had a little bit of a head start, but in terms of personality, they both go cheeky, angry cheeky, disgusted cheeky. They have the same British emotions, but Finch is the better golfer. So I don't understand how that same type of, Rick Shiels even copied Peter Finch's beard. Who had the original beard? Finchy.
That's a good point. It bothers me a little bit more because I think part of it is just that Finch doesn't crank out as much content as he does. Good went over there and they wanted to do in their Rick Shields week. Man, why aren't they doing a Peter Finch week? Oh, because they don't want to get embarrassed. That's why. Because they know they can all go over there hungover and beat Rick Shields in every single event 7-1, right? Even Bubby can beat Rick Shields. They go over there and they play Peter Finch on his home turf. Like, nah, ain't nobody winning that other than Peter Finch. And maybe that's what it is. It's that Peter Finch is in a situation where if he plays like the pros in the heads-up matches, he might embarrass them. Whereas Rick Shields, we can do a match with Ian Poulter, and we can give you 10 shots. And Ian Poulter still has it. And Ian Poulter's in a no-lose situation here. Because if Rick Shields won, did he really win? No, he didn't win because you got beat by 8 strokes. But he lost. He lost by 11 strokes to Ian Poulter in an 18-hole match. So maybe that's what it is that Rick Shields is in a spot where he's good enough to be decent at golf and be able to talk to the average golfer, but not good enough to where he's actually a threat to a professional golfer that comes on his show.
It's just odd how Finchy, he's has a lot of the same characteristics of Rick Shields. It seems like he could scale up his channel doing the same way, getting these pros on, doing more of these type of challenges. But for some reason, it isn't firing on all cylinders. And he definitely gets, to me, the Rick Shields' leftovers.
If I was in Peter Finch's situation, I would look at Micah and I would look at Grant and try to see what they're doing, because they've obviously been successful and growing. And obviously Peter Finch's brand is not a bad brand. It's a big time brand. It's a successful brand. But as far as taking it to the next level, I think if I'm Peter Finch, I'm looking at Grant and Micah and trying to see like what they did once they left Good, and really find out how they can merge that kind of path together. Now, it may be a situation where he has to leave the UK for a while, because one of the big things that Grant and Micah did is they immediately started making inroads with Bustajack, Bob Does Sports, Brian Bros, and you see them making collabs constantly with those guys. Driver on the Deck King, who's becoming an Instagram sensation. Grant did an 18-hole match with him. You get what I'm saying? There's constant collabs, and I just don't know if the YouTuber pool in England or in the UK is thick enough to really be able to help bolster Finchy.
Finchy, on one of his little podcasts with his little camera crew guys, had said that he would actually work with anyone as long as it would help grow the channel. My whole, it's an uncomfortable thing to say, but I feel like Rick Shiels with Guy Charnock on that one episode essentially neutered Finchy by saying like he's not good enough to go to the British Open qualifiers and try out for the British Open. Really kind of shattered his self-worth, his self-esteem. And when that happens publicly with the whole world watching, it was like Will Smith in that Red Table show with his wife Jada. And
with the word entanglement.
The word entanglement. So basically that's what that episode was like to me, and that it always basically forever hamstringed Peter Finch, because you just saw him get called out on air by Guy Charnock, a 4 handicap, and Rick Shiels didn't hook his boy up. And ever since then, he's still doing well. I mean, he's doing great, but he's been adrift, and he only needs to make 1 or 2 more changes, but he won't jump for the ladder.
And maybe it's a polite thing. Maybe he's just, as a person, is too polite. Maybe he just doesn't want to go for the kill. But if I was in his position, we already know the bridge is burned, right? Why not make content making fun of Rick, or make content calling out like Rick's problems?
This is when I hit my nose and I'm like, nailed it. Don't be content. This is our message to Peter Finch, aka Finchy, #Team Finch. Don't settle for second, bro.
I think you're worth so much more than that. I mean, real talk, I want the YouTube golf community to continue to grow, and actually grow as far as players from the golf community of YouTube being able to be part of the conversations in pro categories. I think there's plenty of talent out there. I think that the wrong people are getting the wrong opportunities. I really do. I think the wrong players are getting the wrong opportunities. And I hope that players like Finchy, Van Hadden, Luke Kwan, the guy, and George Bryan, and then, of course, Bustajack, the guys who have real talent, Driver on the Deck. I hope to see these guys continue getting better opportunities and better influence positions, because I'm tired of guys who can't break 80 consistently being the guys who are getting all the opportunities, or guys like Steven Castaneda who don't even give a shit.
Well, here's my deal on Castaneda. I actually respect the fact that he just overtly doesn't care. He's just, and if you're going to be that, I just like, hats off to you, dude. He just shows up there. He's just like, whatever, slops it out there, and they keep him around. And you know what? It works enough for me, because he doesn't care so much, it becomes a thing.
I get you. And I mean, I understand what you're saying, because he legitimately will say on camera every single good week, well, I haven't swung a club in 5 weeks, or haven't, like the only time he hits a golf ball is when he's actually on good week, like which is 1 week every month. and it just weirds me out every single time. Like like as a person like myself who actually takes golf seriously, wants to get better, it pisses me off. But I can definitely understand how it relates to the everyman.
Jake Span Golf, I want to make a promise to you right now. Bro, I want to get good at golf so that you and I can go around playing courses in the States and maybe take out a bunch of these suckers.
Let's do it. Money style.
Folks, that was another rocket episode of Big Boy Pants Golf. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Check out Jake Span Golf. Subscribe to his channel because, of course, this dude needs to get to 500 subscribers ASAP.
Thank you, folks. As always, keep striping.